You know, we live in a very, very special community. I've lived in Valley Center myself since 1997. Supervisor Desmond's office has been incredible in everything that has to do with fire resiliency and safety within Valley Center. And it starts with the 6% of the 1% tax initiative that's going to help grow our fire department now and into the future. That never would have happened without Supervisor Desmond's support, and over a 5-year political journey with our tribal partners, with our local fire agencies, with the California State Special Districts Association, our own school district, water district, everybody, all hands on deck, going down and advocating over a 5-year period to get that to happen. So that's going to be huge for us. To Carl DeMaio's office and his new position and his new journey, advocating for the same 6% of the 1% and doing whatever he could, even on the radio and all of the things, advocating for Valley Center, and now representing us at the state. He says to us, make me a list, tell me what you need so that I can advocate for you, so that I can help you. To know that we have people at the highest possible level taking care of our community while we can worry about taking care of each other. And for me, to put the assets on the street to take care of our fire problem, our paramedic. 80% of the calls that we run are paramedic calls, our partners. And the type of automatic and mutual aid systems that we have in California, and specifically in San Diego County, the way that our fire chiefs work together and collaborate. And I was just at a meeting today, and every single fire chief in the county was at that meeting, and we were talking about this very thing. We're talking about how we can harden and make our communities more resilient, how we can provide better fire protection to our communities, and how we can go out and teach people to make their homes more resilient. Helicopter, the water tenders, and the money Supervisor Desmond is setting aside with the County Board of Supervisors to purchase that helicopter. It is huge. A twin-engine helicopter that can fly during the day and fly specifically at night is huge. So when the temperatures go down and the humidity goes up a little bit, and to have those helicopters out there helping the boots on the ground get control of those fire lines at night, and then during the day for those helicopters to put out hot spots, to actually put out homes as well, because when a home catches fire in the urban wildland interface where we live, where we've built homes in Valley Center for years and years and years, those homes become a part of the brush fuel model, and home after home. And even if you're 2 acres away, even if you're 5 acres away, the embers with 80-mile-an-hour winds, with 100-mile-an-hour winds, with 60-mile-an-hour winds, they go miles. Okay, and so collectively, having the right clearance and having all the things to help you help us is going to be huge. Today, the fire chiefs voted for another helicopter. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a grant to the state of California, and we're going to be working with Carl DeMaio's office specifically on this grant for a second 24/7, 365 helicopter to go with the one that the county's going to purchase, to have it at the ready. Sat next to Chief Meacham, who's the county fire chief, CAL FIRE fire chief within this unit, and they are bringing more aerial assets to San Diego County. So at Ramona, which is very close, so the helicopters are not going to be coming immediately from Gillespie Field. They're going to be coming, those new helicopters are going to be coming from Ramona, so right down the hill to protect Valley Center. A new C-130 Heavy is going to be flying out of that, along with the 2 turboprop, fast movers to come get aerial assets and get that retardant to shape that fire away from the homes and protect our firefighters, our boots on the ground, and protect you as you evacuate. Our water district has an ISO Class 1 water distribution and capacity system, and I'll go over what ISO is later in my PowerPoint. It's really important to understand that the other reason that we're super blessed is that we have Turner Lake, which is not connected to our domestic water. And the headwaters of Keys Creek and all the creeks that feed Turner and then it spills and goes, and it's a tributary to the San Luis Rey River. That water stands at the ready to fight fire within our community. Lake Wolford stands at the ready to fight fire within our community. Dixon Lake stands ready for fire suppression in our community, for helicopters to go dip and put fires out and not have to rely on heli-spots that they have in other places where they have hydrants for the helicopters to come and dip out of the municipal water system, taking away from that extra capacity. Does everybody understand that? So while the hydrants are amazing, they're specifically for those communities that are not blessed with the water supply that we have in Valley Center, which is really, really huge, okay? Don't get me wrong. A firestorm is a force of nature. It's no different than an earthquake. It's no different than a tornado. It's no different than anything, and you can't stop it. You can't get in its way. When a fire occurs in home after home after home, and the brush becomes a part of the fuel model, firefighters are not and cannot get in the way of that. We do the best that we can to get people out of the way and get some sort of shape of the fire if we can with aerial assets, retardant, and helicopters as we're working our way in there. These 3 key points I'm going to talk about tonight. Wildfire readiness, ready, set, go. The Genesis Protect app, which you need to have on your phone right now. I'm going to go over a little bit of how to make in insurance right now that is untenable, maybe how to make it a little bit more tenable for us. Together with our tribal partners, we stand at the ready with 6 fire stations that have fire apparatus for structural firefighting, and every single agency, tribal and Valley Center, has a brush firefighting unit. So we stand at the ready to fight brush fires, structural fires, and we have the ability to help our community with paramedic services. Every single unit in Valley Center and every single unit in Rincon has paramedics on it. 80% of the calls that we run every day, all day, are for Mrs. Smith and her heart attack, Mr. Smith, his stroke, and any vehicle accidents that occur. And you see those all the time. Major traumas. Those are the 3 things that we prepare for every day, all day. When fire occurs, we want to be ready. And we've had some significant fires, and there's been a lot of lessons from that. But I was here in 2003 and helped fight the Paradise Fire. And we got here at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it looked like a war zone. Rincon was on fire, Sunset was on fire, Yellow Brick Road was on fire, and we went right to work. And we worked for 36 hours straight, putting houses out and setting control lines in 60 to 80 mile an hour winds. And during that time, the Cedar Fire was going on at the same time. There was about 9 fires that were going on all at the same time. Some of them were small, but a couple of them were huge. After those significant fires, a grand jury set aside some edicts for San Diego County. One, we will have a common communication system so that we can order assets from a single point and everybody will work in concert and be able to talk to each other. And we didn't have that ability very well then. Now we have state-of-the-art communication systems, state-of-the-art guidance systems with automatic vehicle locations. So we know exactly where all our assets are and how to respond very, very quickly. The other thing that we learned is to pre-position strike teams, which are 5 engines, a chief officer, a dozer and hand crew in a specific area, leave them parked, ready to go, on top of everything that's ready to go in the communities, so that when a fire occurs, the aerial assets get launched from Ramona and Gillespie. All of the local assets go to stop the fire, and the pre-positioned assets go to back them up. If we get the fire and we hold the fire under 10 acres, we send that pre-positioned assets back to where they were, and that's where they stay until the next fire pops. So over the last 3 to 4 weeks, we've had a number of pre-positioned assets throughout the county in 4 different spots of those assets coming down from Central and Northern California that were given up from the fires from LA. So that was fantastic. Major wildfires have shown firefighter and law enforcement officers are often placed in dangerous situations. So we We do a lot. We will risk a lot to save lives. We will risk a little bit to save property that can be saved. We will risk nothing. We will not risk firefighters' lives or your lives or law enforcement lives to try to save something that is not savable. We'll try to stop fires. If house after house after house is catching, we'll try to stop the leading edge of the fire in those houses that are in the island, and that there's 10 houses burning and we're trying to catch the leading edge. Those 10 houses are probably going to go to the slab. And so that's why it's really important for everybody to understand that it's a force of nature that in a lot of cases can't be stopped. And the heartbreak of everything that happened in LA is something that we're really going to have to take some preventative measures to make sure that we don't put anybody in harm's way. I will tell you during the Cedar fire that our deputies were flying down the road and they were throwing people in Suburbans, they were throwing people in Tahoes, they were throwing people in patrol vehicles and getting them out of there because there was very, very little notice for them to get out. Because if you remember, 911 evacuation system then was what? It was by zip code. And if your phone rang at 2 o'clock in the morning and you picked up your landline, that's how you got it. There was no connection to cellular, there was none of that. Today, we have modern technology, we have evacuation systems, we have notification systems that are state of the art. Are they perfect? No. We found this out in LA. They're not perfect. So we're still working with the Sheriff's Department because the Sheriff's Department, that is their main focus in fire, is evacuation and saving those people who get trapped, getting in there, getting people out. A lot of times we lose life when people ignore the call or they say, I can wait it out. And I just talked to a fire chief, Ken Kreminski, who is the fire chief at Verona, and he was up in Altadena. And he said that fire engines had to go in and get people who decided that they were going to stand and defend their own homes and they were going to wait it out, and they ignored the evacuation orders and they had to load them on fire engines and get them out of there to a couple of schools. Okay, so if you get the notice, your garden hose is not going to save your house. Get the notice and leave, because if we can't get to you, you're going to perish. The first breath of superheated gases from 100-mile-an-hour wind is going to put you on the ground. Don't stand and defend. Get out when you get the call. The Ready Set program has been in existence for a long, long time. And it's about preparedness, situational awareness, and survival. And it complements FireWise principles. What is FireWise? So FireWise is a community preparedness program, and it's singularly focused with like HOAs. So the Woods Valley HOA, the Park Circle HOA. If you have an HOA in Banbury, if you have an HOA over here in Palma Heights, everybody needs to get together and they need to decide collectively that they're going to be a FireWise community, and collectively each one of those homeowners, a part of that Homeowners and FireWise Association, is going to keep everybody in check, which means your defensible space, the right types of plants, making sure that cars are not parked in the road, all of those things. We're going to have 3 fire stations. We have 2 fire stations now. How many deputies do we have to try force all of that? And so we have to, in FireWise communities, you help us help you. And at the end, there's a website. So if you're interested in your community, your small community within Valley Center becoming FireWise, we can help with that, but it has to be driven by the homeowners. Here's what defensible space looks like. And you'll notice that there's a new defensible space area called Zone 0. So the law dictates right now that every new construction has no vegetation between the house out 5 feet. Okay? Which means all your Texas privets, your boxwood, all the things, your beautiful rose hedges, all of those things. If you're building a house, you can't have that. And within the next 2 years, we're going to be going out and doing defensible space inspections, and we're going to start looking at Zone 0 as well. And we're going to be recommending that you remove that vegetation away from your house out 5 feet and put non-combustible material around your house, like rock, those sorts of things. I will tell you right now, Mrs. Napier is not going to be very happy because we have a beautiful row of hawthorn, pink blooming hawthorn right in front of the house. We have Texas privets that smell beautiful. When they bloom, they smell like gardenias. Those are all going to have to come out. And it's going to be a sad day when I have to pull all that stuff out. But I'm gonna pull it out because the fire chief can't have all the stuff that you can have. That's bad for business. Either that or I'll retire. She won't have that either. Okay? Everybody knows the rest of it, right? Out 30 feet, all your trees need to be limbed up overhead. 6 to 8 feet overhead. Why? Because all the fuel on the ground is going to burn very, very quickly. Faster than you can run, faster than a deer can run, faster than any coyote can run. If you have a beautiful oak tree that's dipping on the ground, or a pepper tree that's dipping on the ground and touching the ground, or close to the ground, that's going to catch fire. And especially with our oak trees, if any part of that oak tree is diseased from the beetle, you need to cut back on that and get it up. It'll look beautiful as an umbrella if it's nice and green, and it'll stand the test of fire if it's nice and green. Same thing with the rest of your ornamental vegetation. Get it up off the ground so it can't catch. The fire will move through, it'll take everything out off the ground, and that'll be part of your clearance plan. All the way out to 100 feet, everything needs to be to the ground. And if that means that you need to use sheep, you need to use goats, you need to use your weed whacker, you're going to do all of that, but you're going to use your weed whacker between what time and what time? 7 o'clock in the morning when the sun comes up, and you're going to stop at 11. Because that's when the humidity is high, the temperatures are low, and generally the wind is not crazy. But if the wind comes up, and the temperature comes up, and the humidity is down, are you going to use your weed whacker? No. You're going to use your chainsaw? No. You use your goats? You got them. This is very, very important. Who here has downloaded the Genesis Protect app and they have it on their phone right now? Okay. That should be your source of information for evacuation. Who here uses watch duty as their source of print? Okay. I want to tell you something about watch duty. So, watch duty is not owned by CAL FIRE. Watch duty is an independent app that has influencers that listen to the scanner, and they give updates to watch duty just like any other social media platform. They hit 1 million, more than 1 million after those most recent fires, okay? What does that tell you about the accuracy of the information that you're feeding from directly from watch duty? It can't be 100% reliable. It all depends on the influencer who's listening and watching and reporting into watch duty about what the progression of the fire is. And they're watching Genesis Protect themselves on their own phone, and they're feeding that to watch duty. Genesis Protect comes directly from the command post that I'm at, that Chief Duncan's at, that Chief Reynolds is at, and we feed that to the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department pushes it out from the command post through the Genesis Protect app, and that's where it's updated. I'm not telling you to get rid of watch duty. It's a valuable tool, but please don't rely on watch duty because it's going to be behind the evacuation curve. But more importantly, it could be behind or ahead of the repopulation curve. And here's what happened in Altadena. Watch duty pushed out, hey, it's okay to come back. And it wasn't. The public utility had not cleared all of the electrical lines out of the way, and it didn't get signed off. And there was nearly a riot up there because watch duty said, I can go home, and you're telling me I can't. And that was a problem. Okay, so please, the first one you should have for every day, all day, is Genesis Protect and Pulse Point. Pulse Point's going to tell you when the fire occurs right now, the first units that respond from your tribal agencies or from Valley Center, where it is and what kind of units are going. And as soon as we get on scene, I mean, you should be looking for smoke in the sky when your Pulse Point goes off. And then start looking at your Genesis Protect. And you'll see deputies go by code 3 when there's a fire, and we're going by lights and siren. Okay? And everybody knows what the lights and siren sounds like, right? Do you know what the high-low sounds like? The European, be-doo, you know, like the Minions. The be-doo, be-doo means evacuate. So if we're coming into your neighborhood, you're looking at your Genesis Protect, there's smoke in the sky, and you hear the high-low siren, pack your stuff up and get out. Whether you got notified or not, I used to say go to the pier and have a beer at Ruby's. Here, I know, doggone it. So go to 333 and have a steak and a martini. Okay? I'm serious. Go to your family on the coast, okay? If we will tell you through Genesis Protect where to go and how to get there. And I'll show you in just a second how that works. Evacuation zones by population density, which means the casinos and the towers of the casinos are their own zone because it's based on population. So if there's 10,000 people at Harrah's and we want to keep them in place and not on the road, we'll keep them in place. Same thing with Valley View, same thing with Palm and Paula, right? So everybody else can move, and we'll do the best that we can to move people to places and move horses and other animals to places and keep trucks and trailers separate from people. Genesis Protect also looks for more than one way out. It's established at the command post by fire and given to law enforcement. We send wireless messages, and it's connected with the San Diego Alert app. So who here has gone to readysandiego.org and has registered your phone with that? Please do that too. So that's the third app I want. So Pulse Point, Genesis Protect, and alertsandiego.org. And then the fourth one, put Watch Duty on there as number 4. But don't rely on that as number 1. Everything is public facing in a web view access right on your phone, and it comes right from the command post, vetted through the sheriff's department, double checked before it gets pushed out. So the information is real time and it's real. So don't rely on social media to tell you where to go or how to get there. Rely on Genesis. And then repopulation. When your zone goes green in your Genesis app, what does that mean? Green is good to go. You're good to go, come home. And that means that the law enforcement, the fire, and the public utility has signed off, physically signed off, that it's okay for you to go back. And that your water is safe, you don't have to boil it, or you do. There's no electrical lines on the ground. And that the law enforcement has gone through and they've cleared anything out of the way. And they've gathered up anybody that's in there that is not supposed to be in there and gotten them out of there. This is what Valley Center and our tribal partners look like. Those are the zones. The way for you to know your zone is download Genesis, put your address in there, and your zone will pop up. Those are the evacuation routes. We do not publish those. Why? We don't want you to treat a fire evacuation route as the people in Florida treat a hurricane evacuation route. We don't want you to drive to the mouth of the dragon. We want you to go where we tell you to go and to the place where we need you to go. Insurance. What is ISO? ISO is an Insurance Service Office. It's also known as VERISC, VERISC. ISK. You can look it up, Google Verisk. It's a system that grades all of the fire departments in the United States. There's 38,000 fire departments in the United States, 38,000. Each fire department gets rated on its ability to stop conflagration within its own community and be able to handle the risk of its own community. It's from 1 to 10. So a class 1 fire department is the very best you can be. A class 10 fire department would be a 1-station fire department way out in the middle of nowhere with no water supply, very little communication. Get my drift? All fire departments get graded on their training, their deployment, and their facility locations. We get graded on our water distribution and capacity, and Valley Center Water is an ISO Class 1 water department. Communications and technology. Our dispatch center and all the communications and technology that we have is a Class 1 system. Our fire prevention and community risk reduction programs, which includes Miss Charlotte and all the things that we do to educate you, to keep you safe. And I get a little check mark in my box for ISO for this tonight. All of it has to do with attaining that grade. Most of the fire agencies in our community, Valley Center is a Class 2 fire department. Rincon is a Class 2 fire department. I believe Paula is a Class 2 fire department. We're still waiting to get San Pasquale's rating back. I want you to look at the bottom here. Of the 38,000 departments in the United States, only 7% earn the Class 2 designation or better. Your local fire departments are in the top 7% in the nation. We are also surrounded by Class 1 fire. San Marcos is a Class 1 fire department. Poway is a Class 1 fire department. Escondido is on their way to become a Class 1 fire department. They're Class 2 right now, but they're gonna get their Class 1 designation. Less than 1% of the 38,000 in the entire nation are Class 1 fire departments. As a firefighting force in the region, in the North County, we are standing very, very tall. And it's because of your faith and trust in us to give us the responsibility of protecting you and give us the ability to do all the things that we can with our budget. I call it the bullseye budget. Every year I take the dart and I gotta hit the bullseye because that's how close we get every year at Valley Center, and that 6% of the 1% is going to give us some room, some breathing room, thank God. Here are some insurance considerations. Your Valley Center Fire Protection District is an ISO Class 2, which means if you live within 5 miles of your fire station and you have a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of your house, you deserve a Class 2 insurance rating on your house. We still see people who call us and ask what their ISO class is because their insurance provider asks them, and their people have been getting billed from over 10 years ago. We were Class 5 9X, and there's still people in the community that are still paying that rate when they shouldn't. We'll provide you a written evaluation of your home and property, which means we'll come out and do a safety inspection free of charge. We'll look at your eaves, we'll look at your vents, we'll look at your setbacks, we'll look at all of your defensible space, we'll look at all of it, and we'll write a letter on your behalf to your insurance company, which will help. Here's what you will need to do. You'll need to create defensible space, including 0, all the way out to 100 feet. You will need to replace your gable and eave vents with ember-resistant vents. I have a website at the end of this, and you can go to Brandguard, there's Vulcan, there's all sorts of companies out there that make these special vents. And there's some grant money that's out there too, so be on the lookout for that. You will need to enclose your eaves. If you have open eaves with wood showing, all of those need to be enclosed. The ember-resistant vents go in there so that your house can still breathe. That means the big attic vent that you have, get rid of the old and put the new ember-resistant vent in there, okay? Don't rely on the screen anymore from the hardware store. Just go buy one for each side of the house, okay? They're not cheap, but again, I think there's some grant money out there. You might need to upgrade your roof. And in the state of California, The fire service has been great about getting rid of shake shingle roofs. But I'm talking about if you have a 25, 30, 35-year-old composition roof where the edges are frayed and all of that, that roof is probably not giving you the fire resistive capability that you should have. If you have a concrete roof, that's great, but I need you to go up and I need you to look to see if there's any cracks or if there's any missing pieces or there's edges chipped off, because any embers that get underneath that concrete and onto, what's the paper underneath there? Tar paper. Tar paper. Is that going to catch fire? Absolutely. So the new material that they use is fire-resistant polyurethane, and it's a sealant, and it works very, very well. Mrs. Napier made me put a new roof on the house. It wasn't cheap, but in our mind, our roof was over 26 years old. She's like, you got to put a new roof on the house, Mr. Joe. I'm like, okay. So we did it. You may need to increase your deductible. I have a good friend, their deductible was $10,000. They increased their deductible to $20,000, and it reduced their overall insurance by $1,000. These things may reduce with your company, may reduce your bill by hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars. Look at your individual policies. Within your policy, there's a statement in there that grades your house against the ability of the wildfire protection. And it's a 1 through 10, and I'm a 4 where I live, and my house is all included in that. And with all these things, I'm still a 4. If you live in Hellhole Canyon, and even if you do all this stuff, you still may be a 9 or a 10, because you're well away from the fire station, your water supply is not as great, those sorts of things. For us, the more fire stations we add, that puts homes closer to fire stations within that 5 miles, then you'll enjoy that Class 2 rating. And in this market, every little bit helps. And some insurance companies will say, we don't care about ISO, we have our own grading system. All right, that's fine. But how much better do you know that you're protected by a fire station that's a Class 2 fire department that's in the top 7% of the United States? Here's the websites. So if you're interested in creating a FireWise community in your little neighborhood, go to the top one. Brandguard vents, Vulcan vents, and other vents, but Brandguard specifically has access to grant money. And then the last one is the Genesis Protect download. When you open that up on your phone, you'll have a choice to go to your Apple or go to your Google Play, and a QR code will come up and download it. And then go down to the bottom to the map. It'll open up the map. You'll put your home address in there, and you're off to the races. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming.
About 2 miles up the road here, we got about 100 acres or more with brush that's 3 or 4 feet high. In addition to that, there is 2 double-wide trailers, about 7 to 10 ranch hands in there, living, cooking, smoking, whatever they do, and it certainly can't be legal, that's for sure. Not only that, there's 2 acres up there that CAL FIRE has where they plan a station. What do? They go up there, they clear their 2 acres, but the rest of the 100 acres is still out there full of brush control. So there's no action. And all of Valley Center is a big red zone on the fire hazard.
In open land, Valley Center Fire Protection District has an ordinance. So from any road, we can clear back into the property up to 30 feet. In the center of that wildland area, short of doing, and this is what our legislators are trying to accomplish, short of doing controlled burns and those sorts of things, there's no legislative teeth for us to be able to go to a property owner that owns 100 acres and say, you need to clear your 100 acres to make our community safe. They can go all the way around the edge of their property, 30 feet, and they can till it or they can mow it. But if there's no dwelling on that piece of property, there's no teeth to the ordinance. Every Tuesday, our fire department volunteers go out and they do fire and safety inspections. And we, on an annual basis, we try to touch 8,000 parcels within the Valley Center Fire Protection District. Last year we hit 6,500 of the 8,000. CAL FIRE goes out and does the same thing. And so we have the ability to go and write violations for that. And if you have a specific complaint about your neighbor, anonymously you can go on our website, you can write in their address, and we'll go out and have a look at it. But you better make absolutely sure that your property is pristine. Because when we go do that evaluation, we don't just look at that one, we look at all the houses within that area. We have a great partnership with Code Compliance. So if there's multiple trailers on property with people in it, we call up our partners at Code Compliance. Code Compliance comes up, we go on the property together, we figure out what's going on, and we get it taken care of. Yes?
What's the status of the new fire station?
So we're getting ready to celebrate our second anniversary of being in the permit process with the County of San Diego. And thank God for Jim Desmond's office, because it got to the point where we were going back and forth on the coal grade widening was affecting our ability to put the fire station in place, because they were asking us to mitigate the rainwater on the coal grade widening and that design, and the water wasn't even coming off our property. We already did all of that. And so called him up and said, this is getting crazy. And he assigned Hunter from his office to help us. And within about 10 days, we had 21 people from the county on a Zoom call, and the lead engineers of the county and all of those people made that problem go away, told those people to stand down, said, look, they have a fire station to build. We got, response times are horrible in that area. We have people losing their insurance. And oh, by the way, LA's on fire. So I'll have a permit in hand in February, and we'll all go out. Let's all get a gold shovel and let's do a groundbreaking in March.
There was something in the paper with the Genesis app that if cell phone towers go down, the app isn't working. Is that true?
That is true. But who here still has a landline? I'll leave my hand up. Okay, so through the readysandiego.org, you can register your landline and get your Genesis app, and then turn your TV on. If the power's off, you should have a backup generator or some sort of backup power so that you can have continual situational awareness of what's going on. Because we still use the old emergency broadcast system. Remember that noise it used on the radio? We still use that because not everybody has a smartphone. The cell towers that come into Valley Center, they have the same requirement that you have. They have to clear 100 feet away out, and we have to have access to those cell towers because they're critical infrastructure that we need to protect in order for you to get the messaging that you need.
The target completion date of that new fire station?
So once we break ground and get the bulldozers on there, it's a 20-week process. We have the fire engine already, so we'll be hiring people during that 20-week process. 9 firefighters, so 3 captains, 3 engineers, and 3 firefighter paramedics. But we'll start operating out of that thing as soon as we possibly can.